The next is the commissural fibres. Now, commissural fibres, as the name suggests, connects mirror images of one side with the opposite side. So they cross the midline of the central nervous system, so they contralaterally. So if you want to think about, say, for instance, Broca's area, we've got the primary area, where Broca's motor speech is on the left-hand side in most people, and then the other area, the non-dominant side, on the right-hand side, which will give you the tone and prosodic speech and things like that. And that is only done via commissural fibers. Now, it starts over here. We've got this number of small ones. You don't have to know all of them, but I'll show you most of them. That one over there is the anterior commissure. Remember, we said it's in the lamina terminalis. There's the anterior commissure. You can see it clearly. Now, anterior commissure is our main connection between the temporal lobes with one another. So it's intimately involved in smell. Then the next one would be our biggest and most prominent one, is the corpus callosum. Now the corpus callosum starts off with this thin little portion over here. If I take that away, you can see it there. That's the rostrum of the corpus callosum. Now rostrum means beak. This is the most rostral portion of the neural tube initially, with the lamina terminalis. But the adult brain overgrew it, so it's not rostral anymore, but we keep it there. And then it made this bend backwards, this knee bend. So we call that the genu. There's the body of the thing, or the corpus, and eventually it ends here at the back in the thick, very thick bundle, the splenium. Now please, the splenium does not mean tail. It means bandage. If you look at it from over there, you can see how the fibers are rolled on top of one another, typically as you would see in a bandage. So splenium means bandage. And that's the corpus callosum. Now the different parts of it, we'll show it to you just now. This genu has fibers that runs into the frontal lobe. And the splenium has fibers that runs into the occipital lobe. And here in the corpus, it runs obviously into the rest of the frontal and the parietal lobes. It literally spreads out. But most particularly in the frontal and the occipital lobes, we've got the so-called fornices. We've got the forceps minor running from the genu into the frontal lobes, and the forceps major running into the occipital lobes. So if you look at it, just easy way to remember, the distance between the genu and the frontal lobe, and the distance between the splenium and occipital lobe, there's a difference between the two. So this is the minor one, and that's the major one. All right? If we put that away and look at this, this is basically what I'm talking about. Anterior and posterior, that would be the genu. That would be the splenium. And you can see these fibers coming like forceps around. So this is the frontal, or the forceps minor, and that's occipital, forceps major. You can see the one is bigger than the other one. And that's the body of the corpus callosum, and you can see the fibers running into the parietal and the frontal lobes. Back to the other commissures that we can see. There's the medullary stria of the third ventricle of the thalamus. And that ends over there as the habenular commissure. And below the pineal, there's the posterior commissure. There it is. The habenular commissure, we said before, part of the limbic system. Posterior commissure for visual reflexes. Then, if you look over here, we've seen the columns of the fornix, the body of the fornix over there. If the body is over here, we've got one crus going that way and the other one would have gone here. Crus means leg. So this person is standing, there's the columns, that's, you could say that's his neck. The mammillary body is the head. There's the neck, then the body, then the two limbs. And then they fold over on one another and they become the fimbria and eventually the alveus on the hippocampus. Between the crurae, we cannot see, it's a very thin layer. I'll show it to you on another specimen, is another commissure. It's known as a number of, it can be known as the commissure of the fornix, or the commissure of the hippocampus, or the lyre of David, whatever you want to call it, you're welcome. Just remember, it's a commissure, and it's the only commissure that we find in the limbic system. The frontal, that's occipital over here. Here you can see the columns of the fornix coming up, just posterior to the interventricular foramen. Running backwards, that's the body. And there you can see now the two legs of the fornix, the crurae. And they will go onto the hippocampus. There's the fimbria of the fornix, and that side is better. But here between, it's a bit broken already. It's a very thin commissure. That's the fornical commissure, or the hippocampal commissure. Right, and there again, that's splenium, and you can see the forceps major running that way.